3.3 Solving equations with addition and subtraction.
That was my daughter Emma with her guest appearance tonight. We are obviously looking at adding and subtracting to solve equations. As it says here, adding or subtracting the same number to each side of an equation produces an equivalent equation. That sounds kind of complex, but it really is pretty straightforward if we follow along here. The biggest rule you have to do to solve equations is what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Here is an example of x plus 5 equals 8. I want to figure out what x is. Now, I'm sure looking at this, you know that 3 plus 5 is going to get you 8. But we have to learn the rules of solving equations because you're not always going to just know what it is by looking at it. I want to get x by itself. To do that, I'm going to get rid of the 5. I'm going to subtract 5. And as I said, what I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. When I do that, 5 minus 5 is going to just get me 0, so I'm not going to write that. I'm just going to say this is gone, and I'm going to bring down the x, and I'm going to say x equals 8 minus 5 gets me 3. And we'll keep doing these, and hopefully you follow that. On this one, below, this is a subtraction one. Again, we have to do the opposite operation to get rid of a number. This is x minus 3 equals 7. Well, since it's a minus 3, I have to add 3 to both sides. That, again, will cancel each other out. Minus 3 plus 3 gets me 0. I'm going to bring my x down, and I'm going to say 7 plus 3 is 10. The nice thing about solving equations, you can always see if you are right. A great habit to get into, take this number, plug it back in, and see if it makes any sense. 10 minus 3 is going to get me 7. 3 plus 5 gets me the 8, so these are both correct. Alright, now that you saw me do a couple, I think it's very important to put into words what exactly you have to do to solve equations. These are steps and rules you need to follow. Number 1 here, get the variable by itself. How do you do that? You have to do the opposite operation to the side with a variable. If it's x plus 5, you have to take 5 away. If it's x plus 10, you have to take 10 away. Always do the opposite operation to get rid of it. And this is always important as well. What you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other. I am going to be pressing on these two things over and over and over again because every time we solve equations, we have to do these two things. You should write those in your notes, and you should memorize and know those. Alright, let's get a little more complicated now. X minus 5 equals a negative 1. I want to get x by itself. Since it is a minus 5, I have to do the opposite operation to do plus 5 to both sides. Because minus 5 plus 5 is going to get me 0. Bring the x down. I just have x. Negative 1 plus 5 gets me a positive 4. As I've been trying to press onto you here, does it make sense if I plug the 4 back in? 4 minus 5 is a negative 1. You can always check your answers. Going to the bottom. Like I said, getting a little more complicated. This time we're looking at fractions. What we do to one side, we have to do to the other. We have to do the opposite operation. Since it's plus 3 halves, I'm going to subtract 3 halves from both sides. These cancel each other out. I'm left with z on the left side. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other. 1/2, I'm going to add 3 halves. So 1/2 plus a 3 halves is going to be 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 over 2, 4 halves, which equals 2. So z equals 2 is my grand answer. Not as easily done here, but you can plug it back in to figure out if that's the correct answer or not, which obviously it is. Alright, here are 3 practice problems that I would like you to try. Give them a shot. We just are starting solving equations. Remember, you follow your basic rules. Get the variable by itself, and what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Good luck, and have these done for tomorrow. Bye-bye.